Esports Overwatch is a team-based competitive game where two teams fight over a series of maps in order to emerge victorious. As a competitive game, it should be fair for both teams. Because it is a game where both teams have the same amount of players, that should be an easy task for the developers. 6 versus 6, and for the most part it is. If your team is better, you will most likely win. However, there's one aspect of the game that can lead to an unfair advantage for one team. This is of course talking about competitive modes and esports. No quick play or arcade modes are involved. If you attack first, you are more likely to win the game. That is a bold statement, but I will back it up. Hear me out. First of all, control maps are completely irrelevant here because they are 100% fair. In the other 3 modes, this will apply perfectly. In Escort, Assault and Hybrid, there's an attacker side and a defender side. In competitive play, they are given to teams randomly. In esports, a lot of times the teams have some agency of what map to pick and which side to pick. After they played their side, they will switch sides and play again. Whoever pushed the payload the farthest or got more capture progress in the end wins. If both teams finish the map, they do it over and over until there's a winner. There will also be a minimum of 1 minute attack each attack. If one team captures with more than a minute and the other team has overtime, only the team with the time will attack again. That seems like a fair concept at first, until you look into how you win. It doesn't matter by how much you win, you just need to win. So if you win by 1% on 2 CP, you still win, and that system is pretty good. The problem is this one. One side gives you the edge in teamfights, attacking first. Let me tell you why. Let's say there are 2 teams and they are equally as good. It is a 2-2 score and the next map, for some reason, is Rialto. Usually the last maps are control, but whatever. Team A attacks and Team B defends. Team A has a pretty good attack and finishes the map with 1 minute and 30 seconds. In this case, there is no advantage visible yet. Team B then attacks. If they don't push it to the end, they just lost and were the worst team. However, let's say they finish the map as well, but they do it with a time of 1 minute and 5 seconds. They clearly have the worst time. Not by a lot, but they should be at a disadvantage, because they wouldn't have as much time to attack as Team A. What Overwatch then does is put the team with the worst time on attack and the team with a better time on defense. I will say why it does that later. Team B with 1 minute and 5 seconds will attack them, win one fight but lose the next, ending just before checkpoint A. The sides switch and Team A now attacks with 1 minute and 30 seconds. They also win the first fight and are approaching the destination. The first fight took about 1 minute to complete, so they are left with 30 seconds. That in theory Team B didn't have. It is 1 fight territory for both teams. Whoever wins the next fight wins the game and thus the series. Team B gets a full regroup in time, touches just before the destination at 0 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. The fight lasts about 20 seconds and Team B wins. Both teams won the first fight and lost the second fight in a similar way, and yet the team with the worst time, that being Team B with 1 minute and 5 seconds, won. It is not this simple though. Teams could be playing way different team compositions and team fights could vary, ending in different results. But if both teams are equally as good, it will come down to the same amount of team fights on attack and defense, no matter what they run. So the team with a better time technically need to win 1 more team fight, resulting in an unfair disadvantage. Of course, if your team has a time bank of 5 minutes and the opponents have 1 minute, the better time has the advantage, because you can put more team fights into one attack. But that's how it should be. The team with a better time gets the advantage in extra rounds, so having a time disparity of 30 seconds to 1 minute isn't that big of a deal, and it usually is preferred to having a slightly worse time just so you can attack first and have to win 1 less team fight to win. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can't win when you defend first. If your team is better, you will still win. But in cases when both teams are equally as good and small advantages matter, this is a problem. There's also a second advantage to attacking first. This one is not as important because it can also backfire a lot. The second advantage of attacking first is that you know exactly how far you push the payload, meaning you know exactly when you need to stop the opponent's card. So you can decide to take long or short fights accordingly and maybe bank up ultimates and then fire 6 of them once the payload gets close to the destination. This of course can work against you, because if you back up 6 ults, the opponent might build momentum from winning a lot of fights in a row, and if your team then loses the fight with 6 ults, you lose. You are putting everything on one fight, which is a big gamble and doesn't work if, for example, one of your teammates gets picked up before that important fight will start. But I can't be the only one to notice this, right? Yes, of course, I'm not the first one to notice, but I just want to put this information here. Let's look at some Overwatch League statistics. These numbers were taken from the playoff matches just before the grand finals of Season 3. If you lose a match in Overwatch League, at least in the tournaments, you get to decide what maps you want to play, and the winning team gets to pick the side. So these statistics are from what the winning teams picked. 7 out of 13 times, attacking first was selected. Out of the 6 times defense was selected, 5 of these times were on 2CP. On every 2CP map, defending first was chosen. 7 out of 8 times where the game mode was not 2CP, attack was selected first. This doesn't show whether they won or not, nor does it show why it's good. It just shows that attacking first on everything besides 2CP is good. Coaches of Overwatch League teams must know this as well, because attacking first advantage doesn't only exist in overtime rounds. The same still applies to normal rounds. The teams just get extra time for each checkpoint. So why is 2CP an exception to this? Why do Overwatch League teams tend to defend first on those maps? I believe they are doing it because technically defending first is better. You can set the playing ground early, and on a lot of maps the defense is stronger than the attack. In 2CP, if you lose a fight, you are almost guaranteed to either lose the point or stall it on defense and win it. However, there is not really a middle ground. If the attack comes in, you can't back off for a long time and then contest at the last second because they will just take the point. So here, it doesn't really matter if you attacked first. If you attacked first and get point A, but don't get point B, when you defend, you don't really have an advantage because if they win the fight, you lost the point. And unlike on payload maps, you can draw the map. You cannot recontest like on a payload, and it will then result in a draw or loss. So because attacking first doesn't matter so much on 2CP, defense is chosen over attack. But on any map that involves a payload, if you attacked first and your time wasn't a lot worse than your opponent's, you will have a higher chance of winning the game. Here's an example. This is from the Contenders Gauntlet Asia, Runaway versus Bilibili Gaming. Both teams pushed the payload all 3 points and are now in overtime rounds. Bilibili has a much worse time and therefore gets to attack first. This is the kind of time difference I would usually say even the defenders have the advantage. But in this instance, if the sides were reversed and Runaway attacked first, they would have won instead of Bilibili. We will get to that later though. I will keep a counter of the attacking team's fight wins in the corner. So Bilibili has a splendid attack on the back of their Hammond player and gets the point A right away. After that, their time bank is depleted and are now in overtime. They win one more fight on the payload to push it just before the end of point B. They won 2 fights in total. Now they know how far they can let Runaway push the point. Of course, the ideal situation would be to not even let them cap the point A. However, that seems unlikely due to their superior time bank. Runaway attacks and loses the first fight. If they had the same time as Bilibili, they would have lost by now, which is why I think in this situation having the better time bank is the advantage. Because of their time bank, they managed to capture point A. They now have 1 fight win, just as Bilibili had. On the second stage of the map, Bilibili does a massive misplay and wastes their Bob and Pulse Bomb. Runaway now has 2 fight wins, just as Bilibili had on their attack. Their time back is up and are now in overtime, in a similar spot as Bilibili was. Bilibili contests the payload a few meters before the destination and win the team fight. Both teams won 2 team fights in similar fight lengths and basically pushed the same distance. Let's be real, those 2 meters don't make a difference when it comes to Overwatch fight engagements. So if Runaway got to attack first and both rounds played out the same, they would have contested 2 meters before the distance they pushed it on their first attack. They would have won the match because they had the better time and attacked first. But because that's not how Overwatch does things, the team with the worst time got rewarded by attacking first, giving Bilibili Gaming the win in that match. Of course, that's not only why they won. Bilibili played fantastic, so of course it can't all be blamed on attacking first. So, what can be done about it? There are not a lot of things that can be done about it without destroying the game in the process. The best thing to do would to make the team with a better time attacked first in overtime rounds. They should have the advantage and not get punished for having the better time. The reason why it is done this way is probably because Blizzard believes because the team with the worst time bank attack first, they won't push it as far. Thus the other team with a big time bank won't push it 3 points and then just full hold. It is most likely done to reduce match times, but in doing so making the game unfair. So I would really like it if that was changed. Make the team with a better time bank attack fast in extra rounds. If I made any mistakes, please tell me. I'm open to criticism. Thanks for watching.